Awesome. Thank you so much. Now Chad's gonna introduce a few of these directions, and then we'll jump into the project team. So Chad, whenever you're ready, please go ahead.
Great. Well, welcome everyone. I'll just run through a few of our live public meeting sort of steps and rules that we have. Obviously, this is a live public meeting. This meeting is being recorded. The recording will be posted to the link that you see there, and these links will be provided in the chat. For live Spanish interpretation, please switch to the Spanish interpretation Zoom channel, as expressed a little bit earlier by B. Online survey is posted on SurveyMonkey, and that's been out there for a while, but we'll also put that in the chat, the link there. The Spanish online survey is also posted there to this link, which we will provide in the chat. Please hold any verbal questions to the end of the presentation during the Q&A session, and we'll try to keep to that if we can. Chat instructions. Use the chat for questions, comments, feedback at any time during the meeting. Click on screen to make control bar to appear. Click on participants, and at the bottom of the list, click chat and type your message and tap send. Again, we'll try to field those questions toward the end of the presentation. If you can go to the next slide. So a quick run over of our team here. We're working with Denver Parks and Rec. Craig Coronado is away today and couldn't attend the meeting, but we've got Shelby Batala, who is our great project manager with Denver Parks and Recreation and our leader on this project. And then we've got Ana Claudia, and she is also a senior city planner and has been very helpful with us sort of working through the process. So that's been super helpful. I'm Chad Hurd. I'm a landscape architect with Matrix Design Group. And I've got Joey Perez with me today, and Joey is our project manager on the Matrix side of things. So we'll be working together with Denver Parks and Rec to kind of make this project happen. So if you want to go to the next slide. We're going to be looking at a number of things today. Probably the biggest thing for us today is that we're hoping to get some community input that is going to help shape the direction of our design of the elements of this park. And so we're just beginning on the design, and we want to get the public involved early on. We know there's a lot of people that live near this park and use it and love it, and we just want to make sure that you're heard and that you have input into this sort of process. Today we'll also share conceptual ideas and some imagery, but these are not necessarily final designs. We're just sort of getting started on the design, so please keep that in mind. We're really looking for people's thoughts and feelings, and we're trying with this imagery to sort of inspire people and to think a little bit out of the box sometimes. So this will be sort of the rundown of our presentation today. Obviously the introduction now. We're going to go through a little bit of background and existing conditions about some of the issues that are currently having with the park. These are things we've heard from staff, but also things that we've heard when we've been out on the site from public. So it's been really interesting. As I said, people love this park, and everybody has a lot of input, even when we're just out walking around on the site. So the playground concepts, we have a couple of concepts that we're looking at. Right now, they're sort of bubble diagrams and generalized. We are focusing mainly on the playground in this presentation today. There are improvements proposed for the walkway, but Joey will get into that a little bit sooner or in just a moment. So after looking at the concepts, we'll talk a little bit about some of the style of the play equipment, you know, sort of what's out there now versus what could be with improvements or expansion of the playground. And then we'll review a few survey questions, and we'll have an opportunity for you to have some input live, which is always a lot of fun. And then we'll review the next steps and kind of the timeline and project calendar. And then at the end, if you can hold on, we'll try to answer some of the chat questions, and hopefully we can answer those questions, but if we can't, we'll go and we'll find the answer and we'll bring it back for the next go round. So, and with that, I'm going to hand it over to Joey Perez. Joey, again, is a senior project manager at Matrix and is a landscape architect, and is going to be kind of heading up the project from our side of things. So.
Thank you, Chad. Again, my name is Joey Perez. I'm a senior landscape architect here at Matrix Design Group, and I'm just going to be walking us through the presentation that Chad just outlined. At the start of this presentation, I just kind of want to introduce the project and talk about the scope of work that we're focusing on for this project. So to the right here is just a diagram showing the west side of Huston Lake Park. There is going to be improvements to the existing asphalt walkways. Those are going to be replaced with concrete. Based on community feedback, we're going to push that construction project to the summer of 2023, so this summer. And so hopefully that gets completed pretty quickly and everyone can enjoy that new walkway. But the main focus of today's meeting is the playground. We're looking to present a few or two bubble diagrams and some playground equipment options. And we're really just looking to get community feedback from all of you as a whole. So in this area, we do have the existing playground, including the basketball court. So we're looking to improve that playground and basketball court area as an entire zone. As part of those improvements, we're looking to modify kind of the existing irrigation to accommodate any upgraded walkways and the playground area. And this also includes modifying any like drainage, because one of the issues that has come up is there's a lot of pooling of water in and around the playground. I just want to also mention that the upgrades will meet the RISE bond requirements and make the park more accessible to people of all abilities by meeting DPR's standards, or Denver Parks and Recreation standards. Improved walkways will meet All American with Disabilities Act, or ADA, requirements. The funding sources for this project, this is a RISE bond funded project. The funding is provided through a voter approved bond. Funding is also provided through DPR capital funds. And one other element that's not part of this scope for right now, but will come in the future, is a future restroom structure. The future restroom funding is provided through a voter approved bond as well. The goals for today's meeting is to present two layouts, present play equipment options and themes, and then we're really looking to receive public feedback. That's the most important thing. So as I'm presenting, please feel free to place any questions or comments in the chat. And then we'll have an opportunity towards the end of the meeting to kind of address those questions and comments. And like Chad said, if we don't know the answer right now, we'll get back to you. We'll look it up and get back to you. So we're going to start by taking a look at some of the existing conditions of the park. The top image here is an aerial view looking towards the west end of the park. As I mentioned before, that's part of the scope of this project is the upgrading the existing trail, changing that from asphalt to concrete. Also includes the playground area, which is located here, and the basketball courts. As you can see in this lower image, some of the things to consider in the existing conditions. We've heard some community feedback that although this is a basketball court here, it isn't a regulation size basketball court. Also, the basketball court is adjacent to this trail here. So we've heard that there's sometimes conflicts between the basketball players and people who are using the pathway. Other existing conditions or elements that we're looking into is, again, drainage issues that are happening at the park, and also kind of circulation issues that go through the park. So if you could see my cursor here, what some feedback that we received from the operations side that maintains the park is that it's a little bit difficult to navigate through the park and maintain it properly. So we're looking to address those circulation issues as well. Also, the playground equipment is a little bit outdated, and just the overall general shape of the playground. You can see here, there's a lot of hard edges and corners, and it doesn't make it very accommodating for children to play in. This slide here just goes into more detail about some of the existing conditions. So just looking at this image here, a lot of the playground equipment is outdated. At times, some pieces can be broken and the maintenance team has to go out there and repair them. This includes the swing set that's adjacent to the main play structure. The sand play area is lacking any kind of play equipment that will really intrigue any users. Also, the basketball court, like I mentioned before, is not a regulation size, and its adjacency to the trail has caused conflicts in the past with just different users. Drainage issues in and around the playground, as seen as this image in the summertime or in the snow or in the winter when the snow starts to melt, a lot of the water is ponding both in and around the playground. So as part of our objective as a design team is to address these drainage issues. The other one is we have this beautiful lake adjacent to the playground, but a lot of the views to the lake are obstructed. So we're taking a look at play equipment that's going to allow children to climb higher and have a beautiful view of the lake. As I mentioned before, the west side of the park has an asphalt trail, which it's a little bit broken up, as you can see in this image, and isn't very accommodating to ADA users. So we're looking to get that replaced right away this summer for all the users. And then in the bottom right-hand corner here is just some other issues. Again, drainage issues in and around the trail, in addition to the playground. And then some issues with the maintenance vehicles not being able to navigate through the existing trail. So we're looking to improve the circulation, and hopefully this will avoid any maintenance vehicle creating ruts, which can lead to mud or any water pooling up. So those are just some of the existing conditions that, and already some of the community feedback that we've heard. So feel free to chat, or feel free to place any other issues that you have in the chat, and we'll be happy to address those and take those into consideration for the design. So I want to reiterate, we're going to show these two concepts today. These are not final design drawings. These are only created to inspire all of us in the community, just to get an idea of a scale to see what kind of circulation might work best, and also to help us as designers see what kind of equipment can fit. So this is preliminary concept number one. In this concept, we're looking to expand and simplify the existing playground area footprint. So as I mentioned before, the playground has a lot of sharp edges, and also the circulation is very difficult for kind of users and maintenance vehicles. So one of the main considerations is starting with circulation and just simplifying the circulation as it passes through the park or passes through the playground. In this first option, we're also looking at an economical solution into expanding the playground. So we're taking a look at the existing shape and seeing how we can strategically enlarge those areas and just make it a little bit softer and larger for children to play in. In this first concept, we're combining the age groups. So like, for example, a 2 to 5-year-old play group and then a 5 to 12-year-old play group. We're looking to combine those into one play area, but at the same time, we want to separate those spatially within that one play area. The existing basketball court, we're looking in this first concept, we're looking to repurpose the existing basketball court into a proposed game or flex space. Our thought behind that is to alleviate any conflicts that are happening between basketball players and trail users. With that, we're looking at relocating the basketball court to the west side of the tennis courts and to the west side of an existing trail or path. This will allow us to expand the basketball court to a larger area and then to alleviate any conflicts between people using the trail and the basketball players. In addition, we're looking into just the planting and creating buffers where possible. So we have a lot of existing trees that are shown here. We're looking to take advantage of those existing trees, and then to the west end of the playground to kind of create a buffer from the athletic fields and the playground. We're looking to create a new planting area with maybe some native and a little bit more wild planting. That way it almost kind of hugs and confines the playground area and separates it from the athletic fields.
Joey, you might mention the restroom location in that particular, and even though that's a future piece.
Correct. Yeah, thank you, Chad. That's a good point. So it's not part of the scope for this project, but we are starting to take a look at the proposed future restroom location. Currently, there is portable restrooms located in this area. So in this first concept, we're looking at replacing those portable restrooms and putting a permanent facility in the same location, just north of the tennis courts. So this is preliminary concept 2. So for this concept, we're looking at a lot of things and kind of creating a larger zone for play is kind of the main idea behind this concept. So for this concept, you're adding separate playground areas for 2 to 5-year-olds. So we'll have one playground area for 2 to 5-year-olds, and then a larger area for 5 to 12-year-olds. We're improving the circulation, so kind of creating a wider path from connecting it to the existing path on the south side and taking this large curve and connecting it to an existing path on the adjacent side closer to the lake. There's a lot of reasons we're doing this. One of them is for maintenance vehicle access and just to simplify the circulation for the maintenance vehicles. Also, we're looking to create a larger buffer between the athletic fields and the existing playground. So by creating this circulation route here, we're creating a large pocket between the pathway and the playground, where we're looking to include some berming, and then also a proposed native area, a native seed area. So it's going to be a little bit more wild and rustic. And then between the berm and the playground, we're looking to incorporate a natural play area. So we're thinking of just kind of wild and natural boulders, maybe some logs, fallen logs that allow kids to kind of play on and around. And this also takes advantage of the existing vegetation and trees that are already in this area. In this playground, in this example, we're looking at expanding the playground area a little bit larger than the existing footprint, and then also softening them up the corners that were existing, and we're going to make a very curvilinear and natural playground form to make it a little bit more softer for children to play in. In this scheme, we're also keeping the existing basketball court in place, but because it's already not a full-size basketball court, we're thinking of a concept that will allow for only like maybe free throw or 3-point line shooting. So by adding a third pole, this will allow users to kind of use three-point games or pickup games, and rather than full court games that might be happening now. And in this scheme, we're also looking at a future restroom location. But in this future restroom location, we're looking at placing it on the west side of the tennis courts, adjacent to the new proposed path here. And Chad, is there anything else that you would like to touch on?
Just that in this concept, I would say that the central larger area, the 5 to 12, and then the smaller area, that those have play equipment in them, but the brown area is more of a natural play. So there's kind of a combination of both, and we've expanded the play. We've almost doubled the amount of play area in this concept.
Correct. At this time, we're gonna, I'd like to open it up for maybe 5 minutes or so up to the community, maybe to discuss the two concepts. Feel free to chime in the chats if you prefer a concept, and feel free to just tell us what you like or don't like, or what you would like to see in these future concepts. Shelby Batala is going to be monitoring the chats, so she can pick up on any questions that you might have. Or feel free to hit the raise hand icon, and Jesus can call on you to verbally voice your opinion.
Yeah, maybe Anita, would you like to share, you mentioned you like concept one as it makes more sense for the community. Would you like to share with us a little bit more about that comment, that comment? I think it would be really helpful for us to hear your perspective.
Sure. I like the concept because it still looks very similar to what it looks like now, and it's not such a big change. I like that the basketball court has moved locations, and that, we have more access next to the playground. So I think that'd be great. One other question I have is, I just see that you guys just have tennis courts. Are you also going to continue with the pickleball there next to the tennis courts, or how it's like the tennis courts are split?
That's a really good question. I know that our planning team is looking into that a little bit deeper, and they're doing more analysis on the pickleball courts, and I might have to get back to you on that one specifically.
Okay.
For now, the tennis courts are not really a part of our current design project, so we're not touching those right now. But just FYI.
Yeah, because I think the tennis courts were updated at least maybe a couple years ago. So I don't think they need to be really any revamp to that. But I think if we can use any of the money that may be placed to the tennis court / the pickleballs, I think that money could be utilized somewhere else on the park.
Thank you for that. I'll make sure I share that. I see a comment from Jordan. Would love to get rid of pickleball courts. It brings too many people outside of our community with trash. Yeah, Jordan, would you like to elaborate on maybe why, which concept you're kind of leaning towards aside from the pickleball court issue? Would you like to share any thoughts on the playground concepts?
Yeah, I think moving the basketball court makes a ton of sense. But also, I like the concept too with the bigger playground area as well, since it is one of the smaller playgrounds for like the size of the park compared to some of the other parks around there. I haven't seen too much of an issue with the basketball thing being a stickling point, but obviously it sounds like you guys have got a lot of feedback that is the case. But definitely agree with the large arc for the maintenance thing. That seems to be a problem when it's real snowy for sure.
Awesome. Thank you for those comments. Casey, I see your hand up. Would you like to chime in?
Yeah, first, thanks so much. This is so exciting to see some more investment in this park. It is so loved, but also needs a lot of love. So exciting to see these plans. I live just 2 blocks away. I am probably in the park every day. I'm either running as an individual or with my 2 kids. I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. We meet neighborhood families at the park multiple times a week. So we are heavy users of this playground area. I like elements of both. I'm leaning towards the first one because I do really like the relocation of the basketball court. We don't have a lot of safe spaces in the neighborhood for kids to bike and use scooters and roller skates. We have super narrow sidewalks, and we have a really endemic problem with speeding cars in the neighborhood. So a lot of families don't feel safe having children ride bikes or even walk too much on the neighborhood streets. So we all kind of meet in this area to have our kids, scoot and rollerblade and ride their bikes. And there's just not a lot of space, especially when there's basketball users there. There's been some basketballs and scooter collisions. We all wear helmets, but it just feels pretty tight. And I would hate to see a bad accident one day because there's just so much multi-use trying to happen in this little bit of paved space that we do have. So I really like relocating the basketball courts. In addition to it being too close to the playground, in my opinion, it's also super close to the pathway. So you see balls going into the pathway a lot when folks are trying to walk. We do have a lot of elderly folks and a lot of people who use wheelchairs and walkers that frequent the path. So I would love to see ball activity move away from the path. However, in the second part, I really do love the expansion of the playground area and having, some logs and just a little bit more free space that kids could spread out too. So there's really nice elements of both. I think we'll be happy with any improvements because we haven't seen any improvements for so long. One thing that I really like from Wash Park, because we go there frequently since their newish playground is really beautiful. And the most popular element to that playground is a little area where it's got these little waves in the pavement for kids to ride their bikes and scooters. I don't know if you're familiar with that little area in Wash Park, but I would love to see something like that in Houston. And maybe just because my kids are super at the age where they're on bikes and scooters, but that's a really, really popular spot over at Wash Park. Like literally a line backs up with kids wanting to go over the little bumpy elements on their bikes. So I would love to see something like that in Houston too with that.
Are you talking about the pump track?
Yeah. That's right. Yep.
Awesome. That's really helpful feedback because we have this kind of flex area where the basketball court currently is, and we can start looking at elements we can incorporate in that space that makes more sense for these types of activities. So if anyone has thoughts on that, please let us know.
Yeah, I would be super excited about repurposing that space just because we have such little paved space for kids in the neighborhood. Another element, so I'm also president of the neighborhood association, and we have a grant from the Colorado Health Foundation to provide funding to increase free outdoor physical activity opportunities in the neighborhood. So we do weekly yoga classes over on the east side in the grassy area where it's nice and shady. We did have Zumba for a few years, and Zumba was always hard to find a appropriate space for it in the park. because it's often muddy. There's poor drainage. Nobody really wants to be like dancing in the grass when it's like that. But we can't reserve the basketball court, and there's frequently people on it. So we didn't really have a good space to have Zumba in the neighborhood, even though we did have interest. So we're actually not continuing it for this summer. But that's definitely a community need. We have, I think, almost 70% of the neighborhood is Hispanic, Latinx. So we would love to be able to continue offering that physical activity program, and would love to have an appropriate space to do so.
That's such good feedback. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that with us.
Yeah, great comments. Thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate that.
I want to chime in real quick regarding like the basketball courts. Are they going to be still like cement paved, or is it going to be a different type of, I want to say like a blacktop?
Let us know your preference and we can explore different options.
Because I know when we did the Byers and Pecos Park, before it was a blacktop and then they switched it over to like the cement kind, it started to dwindle the usage. And so I know Huston Park, I know people still play on it, but it's not very favorable compared to like the blacktop.
Okay, so your preference is asphalt?
Yeah.
Okay. That's helpful.
Great, thank
I
you.
can look
Thank you,
into that.
everybody.
Yeah, go ahead, Joey.
I really appreciate everybody's comments. That's really what we're here for today. So if you think of anything else, please feel free to type them into the chat, and we'll be collecting that information for our design process. So thank you so much. For this next portion of the presentation, I just want to show a couple of themes, I guess, for the playground equipment. I just want to reiterate, though, as I show these, that the images shown here, they're for inspiration purposes only at this time. And what you see is not the final equipment that's going to be installed in the park. So this first theme for the playground equipment is a geometric inspired play style. Some of the elements that we're looking at in the images shown here is some of the forms. So obviously the geometric shapes of the play equipment. It almost relates to kind of science and technology, and it will allow for a lot of different play elements kind of related to that theme within and throughout the play area. The other thing I would like everyone to kind of look at and think of is just kind of the bright colors that are shown here. Very fun for children. They pop as soon as you see it, and it might attract children from throughout the neighborhood to come and play at this area. Also, another thing to consider is the play surfacing, the different materials. Here you almost see like an artificial turf on this example. And this example on the left here, it's kind of a poured in place material that allows for different shapes, and the play surface almost becomes a play area in itself, right? We don't need just large play equipment structures, but depending on the pattern, it'll allow children to use their imagination and just kind of run wild and play. One thing I want to mention, I mentioned earlier that we aren't taking advantage of the beautiful lake views that we have. So throughout all of the concepts I'm going to show, we're looking at creating a larger towering element that's going to allow for children to climb up there and really enjoy the beautiful lake views. Also, it's going to allow for some higher slides and other equipment, such as climbing equipment and netting. And also just look at improving the swing set and kind of updating that into a more current style, something that's more fun. And also that helps our maintenance team out and just being a little bit more durable than what's out there, what's existing. So this is the first theme. So just kind of have this in your image. It's a geometric inspired play. I'm going to show the next theme, which is more a nature inspired play. So again, reiterating, taking a look at the colors, a little bit more natural in what you'll find out in the Colorado mountains, the greens, the browns, the different shades of greens and browns, and also kind of like that rocky rocky elements that we're going to find in Colorado, and it's kind of native to the area. Again, looking at some of the play surfacing, this may be a different style of play surfacing, as you can see here, kind of the loose wood mulch style. And also looking at some of the different play equipment. So these are just kind of freestanding fun mushrooms that are presented in a way to allow children to kind of hop and jump and then climb on these rocks and continue in like a circuit. So in the second concept, we talked about a natural play area. This might be some of the elements that could fit into those areas, you know, fallen logs, either synthetic or natural. And same thing with some of the equipment. Also, again, like I mentioned, looking at elevating the play equipment to allow kids to play and really enjoy the views and take a look at the lake. So this is another theme or concept, and then I'll show you one more. This is a lake-inspired play. Since we are at Huston Lake Park, looking at taking advantage of that theme and kind of sticking with kind of what's existing out there now. And the original equipment, you can see it was a kind of a boat style play equipment. So in this one, we're kind of looking to maintain that theme and just maybe upgrade the equipment and make it a little bit more enjoyable with more interactive elements throughout the play equipment. Again, taking a look at the towering elements, larger slides, and then also the play surfacing and what we can do with kind of colors and patterns. So in this next portion of the presentation, we're going to do a live poll. We're going to ask you 3 questions. One of those questions is going to pertain to the theming images that I just showed you. So the instructions for this live poll, the live poll will pop up and appear on your screen. Please select an answer based on your preferences. The results will be shown within 30 seconds. So you have about 30 seconds to take a look at the question and make your selection. And then these poll results, in addition to the survey that's out there, you could find a link in the chat. This is going to help the design team really push this park further and incorporate all the ideas of the community. We're really looking to give people what they want, and this is part of that process. So we're going to have Jesus is going to be in control of the poll. So I'm going to switch to the first question here. This first question is really looking at understanding what you like currently. So what is the playground user or users' favorite play element at the Huston Lake Park playground? Please select one. We have the swings, we have the sand play, and we have the play platform. If you have anything else that you really enjoy, please specify that into the chat and we'll kind of collect that information and use it in our design process. So at this time, go ahead and please make your selection. This will only be up for maybe 15 to 20 seconds.
And Joey, I did just want to check with people are able to see the poll, correct?
It did pop up on my screen.
Okay. We just haven't had any responses.
Oh.
As of now, that's why I did want to just make sure that people are seeing the poll. Okay. Okay. All right. So we're going to close it. Are you able to see the results?
I am. So it looks like, let me see here. So we have the swings. It looks like this swings kind of won by 63%. Let me just move this here.
Look here.
All right, great. Thank you everybody for participating in that first one. So yeah, on my screen, it looks like we had swings at 63%, sand play was at 13%, and the play platform at 25%. So thank you everybody for sharing. We'll move on to the next one here. So which theme would you like to see for the Huston Lake Park playground? Please select one. The geometric inspired play, the nature inspired play, or the lake inspired play. And again, if you have any other thoughts or ideas, please specify that into the chat.
So we'll give another second or so if people are still having a tough time considering which theme they're going to select, but we will end the poll and then share the results.
All right, it looks like, oh, it looks like we have a tie. So let me just copy that. So yeah, it looks like we have the geometric inspired play and the nature inspired play kind of were the top two. So that's really helpful. And again, just to reiterate, these same questions that I'm showing you here are on this survey that you can see the link in the chat. So feel free to share this with neighbors. They still have time to provide their input. So that's important to reiterate. This isn't final selection for, it's not a final choice. So don't feel too much pressure. And then I want to share the third question, which is centered around the basketball court. Would you use the basketball court more often if it was expanded to include and select all that apply? So a 3-hoop basketball configuration with 3-point lines or free throw line games only, a regulation full-size basketball court, a multi-use flexible space where we have space for Zumba or people who are not playing basketball to gather, or an area dedicated for Foursquare and hopscotch with really colorful patterns. And also, in addition, it could also be used as a flexible space. So please go ahead and make your selection now.
And so it looks like we're getting those votes in, so we'll give another 5 seconds or so. And then we'll share the results.
Great, it looks like, let me just pull this over. So it looks like a multi-use flexible space, you know, Zumba, and when people are not playing, is a 78% hit. In second, regulation full-size basketball court, and then the last one, the 3-hoop basketball court. So thank you everybody for participating in that poll. We're going to collect this data, and then again, just please share the survey link with any of your neighbors. We'd love to gather as much feedback as we can. Thank you for everybody participating in the survey. As we're getting to a close into the presentation, I just wanted to share kind of the next steps that the design team and DPR are going to go through. So right now we are in the public outreach process. We're looking to do that here in the spring of 2023. The first survey is public, so please fill that out. And this is the first public open house meeting. And we are planning on having a second meeting once we're able to gather all the input and kind of refine the design. The playground design is happening this spring of 2023. The walkway construction is going to be happening this summer of 2023. So that involves the asphalt removal and concrete walk replacement. And then we're going to be finalizing the design. So once we collect everybody's input We will have a second community meeting to kind of present those refined options. And then we'll begin as a design team to move into our construction documents and the final design. We're looking for the playground construction to happen of spring of 2024. It will be the construction of the preferred plan. And the construction is going to be happening again, spring of 2024, and we're looking to have it completed in fall of 2024. And then we'll have an exciting ribbon cutting ceremony for the community. At this time, I'd like to open it up to the public just for any question and answers session. Before we do so, I just do want to reiterate that this meeting it's a live public meeting and it is being recorded. Please select the raise hand icon in order to be selected to ask questions. If you don't want to verbally voice your opinion, feel free to enter any questions or comments that you have in the chat. And here are the instructions for that. So at this time, feel free to kind of raise your hand or hit the raise your hand icon or ask any questions in the chat. And Shelby Batala will be monitoring the chat just to bring those to our attention. And we can flip through any of the slideshow to take another look.
I think Casey has her hand up. Please go ahead, Casey.
Yeah, wanted to let you all know that the Neighborhood Association does an annual printed newsletter. We are up to 16 pages. We do that in the spring and we get volunteers to go and deliver it door to door. So it gets literally delivered to all 3,000 houses in the neighborhood. So if you have information, sorry, loud children, if you have information about that second meeting, I can put the survey in there. We'll be finalizing the content in the next week or so. And then all of those newsletters will be delivered the first week of May.
Great. Yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know, that we were able to extend the survey date. I see Noah put in a comment now. Yeah, so Noah and Casey, we were able to extend that survey date to mid-May. And please include that link in your newsletter, and thank you so much for offering to do that. I think it's a great opportunity to communicate this to the neighborhood, and we don't have any date set for the second public meeting yet, so I think you're welcome, Noah. I think that we can let you know as soon as we set that date. We'll communicate that and make sure you know about it.
And Casey, it looks like you're busy, so Noah, you're welcome to answer this question. Do you all need any graphics or anything that we're able to provide for your newsletter, just to be a little more catchy, other than the link to the surveys, or anything that you would like to see?
Yeah, do you have a QR code for the survey? That's generally what we do in the newsletter because it's printed, so people are reading it, and then the hope is that they do a QR code and can go to the survey, so that would be helpful. Yeah, the newsletter is printed in color, so anything in color would look nice and make it stand out.
Okay. And when would be a deadline for you all to have it?
The end of the month.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is a frequent playground user.
Yeah, great.
Casey, how do we reach you?
Yeah, my email is casey@athmarpark.com. And Ruby wanted to share that she likes the geometric design. If we had 2 votes, I probably would have voted for the nature. But she overrode me and we voted for the geometric because she's a huge fan of Paco Sanchez with all of the climbing elements there. I do really like having this soft surface that looks like it would be easier for snow removal too, because the playground is challenging over the winter. It gets a lot of ice buildup on the wood chips. It just melts and then it freezes. So with the wood chips, it's pretty icy all winter.
That's a great comment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great.
I see a question about putting posters for upcoming plans. I think we are planning to have some yard signs, but that might not be until the second public meeting. That's what we decided, right?
Yeah, I
team?
believe so.
Yeah, once we get the next meeting scheduled, we'll have posters set up in the park, I think with a QR code for any other future surveys and community information. I think we'll have those maybe posted about 2 weeks before the next meeting so that the community can respond and get prepared for it.
I think would be another good idea is also utilizing Denver Public Libraries, like dropping out some flyers there. Because obviously students go to, or not students, I mean my education lens, families go to Denver Public Libraries as well.
Gotcha.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. And then Shelby, is there any other questions or comments in the chat that we should address? Or
I think there was one at the very beginning. I think Anita asked about the streets, working with Dottie on the streets. Future street improvements. Will DPR work with Dottie in the future? Anita, I'm not sure about that. I would have to ask, but I imagine that that would be the case. I can look into that.
Yeah, so just to let you guys know, I used to work with Councilman Clark, a couple of years ago. And so that was one of the concerns is like that curve off of Kentucky. A lot of cars would, speed down Kentucky, didn't realize there was that curve, and they'll end up like jumping the curve into the park and hit some of those trees there. So that's one of the concerns. And then also Ohio and Bryant, I know the park, I don't know if they still have it, but they have one of the trash bins there, the bigger ones. And so it's kind of like really odd shape, and it would be really nice to have like a ball belt right there or some kind of extension. So yeah, that's kind of more of like a Dottie concern than parks, but I think you guys can do some kind of street improvements there.
Okay, thanks for letting us know. Oh, go ahead, Casey.
Yeah, just two more thoughts. There's not a lot of seating in the playground area. There's just that real one bench over by the play platform. So some more seating would be great. And then I think this is a problem with a lot of public parks. There tends to be drinking that happens in the park, but then we see a lot of broken glass with the drinking and the bottles not being properly put in the trash cans. So I would love to see that sand area removed because it accumulates a lot of broken glass. So and in other design elements, just keep it in mind that we do see a lot of broken glass in that area.
Great.
Thank you.
That's
Yes,
a good point. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's definitely something that the shade and seating element is definitely something that we would like to incorporate into that area. And we're trying to also preserve the existing trees that are in that area as well. So thank you. Those are great comments.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one last comment from Kelly, but I'm not sure.
And actually, Shelby, that I was going to try to get that. Kelly, I also thought that you might have unmuted yourself. I don't know if there's something you want to say before we begin to close the meeting. Okay. Again, Kelly, if there's any follow-up, please let us know. But I think we're at about time, and some people may have to go. We will again post both the slide deck and both the Spanish and English recording on our Facebook page. Just as a reminder, please take the survey and share with your community. It is in both languages, English and Spanish. And then hopefully you will see something in the newsletter when it hits your door next month. We thank you again for joining us for this meeting, and we're really excited about the work that's happening in this project. All right. Thank you all. You have a good evening.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Lovely talking
Bye.
to you all. Have a great night.
Bye.